first of all, as Chair of Tourism Tropical North Queensland, a very big welcome to all our visitors here. We know that we live in the best place in the world, and we hope that you start to discover why in your visit here with us. Very important announcement, the airport is well and truly open. Somebody left a bag on a plane and they had to go through the whole security procedure to get it out. So only a minor issue. So I'm not only a local, but I'm a passionate reefie. So I started exploring the reef here in about 1974, and it feels like a century ago I graduated in marine biology zoology down at James Cook University. So I also started the first commercial marine biologist guided snorkeling trips on Quicksilver 32 years ago now. So quite a bit of history on the reef side. I've recently been asked to join the Great Barrier Reef Foundation Partnerships Committee, which will be contributing advice to the way that $443 million of public funds are going to be spent. So it's with no small weight on the shoulders that I listen with interest to all the words spoken here in this room. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about economic value. And what is the reef actually worth to us? Well, it is the main attraction for Australian visitation. Especially here in Cairns, as Rob Jason said, it's what our engine for our economy is all about. It's also our heart and soul, and most of us would say that it is beyond value. But here today, you guys are the experts, and while I won't be telling you anything new, I have taken many people out to the reef, all walks and ages, and it's from a layman's perspective that I'd like to share some thoughts about communicating some of the innovative science and management initiatives that you're currently undertaking in the context of the whole of the reef story. So the reef has powerful social, even spiritual worth, let alone environmental value. In economic terms, Deloitte's have estimated its worth at $56 billion, and most of this is associated with its iconic brand value. The reef is something that people around the world are passionate about. Actual revenue from the reef each year is over $6 billion, and that's mostly from tourism, supporting around about 65,000 jobs around Australia. If, even in the face of global challenges, the GBR is a shining light to the world of best practice management and scientific initiatives, it instills confidence and optimism. It becomes a magnet of hope, so to speak, and its value, its triple bottom line value increases. We all have a vested interest in making sure that the reef remains valuable and important to a lot of people. Our industry works with the travel industry all over the world every day, and especially in Europe and North America, they are telling us every day the reef is dead. So that is our greatest single challenge, because it's hard to get past that single conversation, that single statement in a conversation. And feelings of indifference or helplessness towards the reef is a contagious disease that the reef cannot afford. The recent bleaching events were a shock to us all and have been an impetus to re-examine our approach. And many of you are creating a toolbox of initiatives that can enhance resilience and explore restoration opportunities, especially for high-value sites. This is a story that needs to be told for the reef's sake, and the tourism industry wants to help you tell it. So today, the key points that I would like to make are the reef is inherently granular in space and time. Its triple bottom line value is priceless, and its economic value is focused into just a tiny geographic footprint. The cost benefit of resilience and restoration work is part of the equation. And what you say about your work matters. The whole world is listening. So, spatial and temporal variability are inherent characteristics of the GBR on multiple scales. Communicating this simply and clearly to a lay audience is difficult regardless of the actual state of reef health. Within the reef, there are zones largely driven by the predominant southeast trade winds, and each with characteristic and different wave action, current flow, oxygenation and exposure at low spring tides. On a whole of reef scale, its size is often referred to as similar to Italy or Japan. And this is problematic in itself because it's most definitely not one solid structure, as most people are used to when you think of a country. I'll never forget once on Quicksilver, an older German gentleman turned up in his hiking boots with a pack and told me that he was going to get off at Agincourt Reef and walk down and get off around about Heron Island, where he was getting picked up by a trawler. I was naturally shocked when he couldn't actually see any land out there. So from south to north, it changes. And we have the wide continental shelf and scattered reefs in the south, right up to here in the north, where we have a narrower shelf with its line of outer reefs. Even down to the scale of metres, there's dramatic variability, and one of my favourites is a place I've been visiting for many years, a couple of bommies out the back of one of the ribbons. I've called them chalk and cheese because on the north side, it's probably about 10 metres across that northern bommy there, and it's almost like a bomb has hit it from about 3 or 4 years ago. One of the cyclones came through and just about destroyed it. Just about 10 metres away across the gully is cheese, or if you like, chocolate reef. It's just an absolutely flourishing kaleidoscope of fish and corals. So scale is really crucial when we think about reefs. And then you throw the variability of time into the mix, and it gets even more complex. We've heard a bit about that today. One of my all-time favourite spots just north of here was pretty ordinary from storm damage 20 years ago. And then it flourished with plate corals, so that by the time of 2016 it was truly extraordinary. It pretty much survived the first bleaching, but 2017 and it was hit hard. But still, and I frequently go out, all along the northern reefs, those small seeds of hope, its young acroporas begin to sprout, give me optimism. If we then look at the scale in time of a few thousand years, outer reefs that were dry land at the ocean edge are now flooded. Within a few hours, a cyclone can create a bomb site, and over months, COTS, bleaching or declining water quality can insidiously creep a decline in coral cover. It's messy, it's complex, and it's just about impossible to wrap a soundbite around. So, tourism is one of the main economic drivers for the reef. Just 7% though of the reef's footprint is used for tourism, and most of it primarily on islands and pontoons sits on only about 1% of the whole reef. As Frank Mars has shown in Bali, small-scale restoration is already practical and achievable. Of the $6.5 billion annual revenue to the reef, 5.7 is derived from tourism-related activities. If we just look off Cairns here, you can see the variety of reef shapes and positions across the shelf frequented by tourism operators, from inner to mid to outer. And quite often these reef sites have been chosen for their aesthetic appeal, and often that means they're relatively high in coral cover or fish already. As well, many reef operators have been investing for years in the care of their own backyard, for example in controlling COTS. So, where does natural and nurtured resilience fit in, and what is the role of reef restoration? Well, coral reefs have proven remarkably resilient as they've evolved over millions of years, being left high and dry in ice ages, flooded, heated and cooled. In the era of the Anthropocene, unprecedented threats of poor water quality, pests and global climate change challenge this natural resilience. That natural resilience does need nurturing. Broad-scale strategies that nurture resilience are core to the Reef 2050 plan. However, with such a small reef footprint used for tourism driving 85% of revenue, investing in reef resilience and restoration at key sites makes sense. Even using these small areas as trial sites for larger scale interventions, ensuring these sites of high economic value are nurtured is a way of showcasing applied science and management to visitors every day. Reef restoration must still make sense in a triple bottom line cost-benefit equation, but it is likely to have a key role in lifting the economic value of the reef, first by delivering best practice science via pragmatic solutions and applied innovation. And secondly, by conserving and preserving high-value sites, such as in tourism. It is in the reef's interest for us all to tell the whole story about our work. Communicating a whole-of-reef context is vital, and today that's been a theme. Collaboration and communication has been mentioned by just about every speaker that we've heard from. We all have a key role to play when we make comment on our work, because the GBR is in the global spotlight and your words are listened to by many. A lay audience needs to understand your findings within the context of the whole of the reef, including its complexity and scale. Failing to do this potentially threatens the way people think about the reef and its value, and even leading to general pessimism and apathy. Commentary based around statistics can be misleading if there's no context, as a lay person has little idea of the granularity that's inherent in reef structures. For example, many lay people would be surprised to know that live coral cover stats on a reasonably healthy reef could be as low as 35 or 40%. Stats and reef ecology are the forte of the few, not the many. So when we hear that 95% of reefs show signs of bleaching, it's not immediately clear what that actually means. We know that the reef is challenged by global and local forces. There is outstanding work being done to enhance resilience, improve water quality, and to develop a toolbox of local restoration measures. And this should be a lighthouse worldwide for management of tropical reefs. Science is the lens that should provide society with the closest possible perspective of the true reality of our natural world. But as with a magnifying glass, we sometimes are only examining a tiny portion of the cosmos and must endeavour to understand and communicate our piece of the jigsaw puzzle as part of the greater realm. The tourism industry can be your partners in reef storytelling. We are the experience sharers and the people who every day can talk about science and management that the people here in this room are creating. The reef's granularity in space and time and the small bright spots that restoration can produce punch above their weight in contributing to the reef's health and in leveraging its economic value. The Future Master Reef Guide program, a collaboration between AMPTO, Tourism Events Queensland, and the Marine Park Authority, is an example of that collaboration, and to me is a shining light for the future that will help to tell these unfolding stories. So whether we're talking stats on mortality or bleaching, building resilience, site restoration, or natural regeneration, don't forget, the world is listening to your words. Accurate, relevant, and contextual commentary leads to a better understanding of our reef's health. The tourism industry does not want to sugarcoat the truth, but we need our science and management partners to help share the whole of the reef story. And optimism is a key ingredient for the reef's future. Our problems are global and we are acting locally. But let's bring everyone on the journey as we lead the world in best practice reef tourism, reef resilience, and reef restoration. Thank you.